Hey, Cathy, welcome back to the Graced Health Podcast.
I'm so happy to be back.
Okay, we talked about a little less than a year and a half ago, because I invited you on to talk about empty nesting. And so here I am a year later, a
Mhm.
year into empty nesting, and both of my kids are home.
Yeah. They don't tell you about that part. Yeah.
They sure don't. They sure don't. But I really valued your wisdom from that episode. And if I have any empty nesters coming up, or some of your kids just launched, then definitely go back and listen to that. And I'm thrilled you're here, Cathy, because you were part of my pilot program for
Mhm.
Strong and Vibrant at Home, and then I have the longest subtitle in the history of courses,
Yeah.
which is Training and Wellness for Christian Women in Perimenopause and Beyond.
Mhm.
I invited my email list only to join as a pilot program, and part of the pilot program was there's going to be some kinks, there's going to be some things
Right.
to work out, and thanks to feedback from you and other people, we have done that. But when I was talking with you and you were providing me some feedback and so gracious to get on Zoom and we just kind of talked through some
Yeah.
of it, you had said, "Hey, if you would like, I'd be happy to come on the podcast and share my experience." And I said, "Sold. I would love that." So
Mhm.
thank you for coming on
Yeah.
today. And let's start here, which I think used to be a very awkward question to ask people, but I'm going to go ahead and ask because you said I could. Do you mind sharing your age so people listening can get a sense of just kind of where you are?
Not at all. Because by the time this drops, I will be 67. My birthday's in a couple of weeks. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So it's not, and I asked that because you are the beyond part of
Right. Mhm.
perimenopause, right? Or
Yeah.
menopause. And it really is designed for women in this life stages.
Uh-huh.
And so that's just an encouragement to women who are listening, really wherever you are,
Right.
that this is definitely an option for you.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, Cathy, what were you doing either before or in conjunction with Strong and Vibrant at Home? Because everybody kind of comes in at their different spaces and their different activity levels.
Right. I just did a couple of online things. I had a kettlebell program that I worked with because I really just love kettlebells. And I did yoga, which I liked. Last summer, just for something different, I took water exercise at the Y, and I love that. I like to kind of change it up because I get bored. So that's
Mhm.
kind of, and I really like strength training. I don't really like aerobics anymore. And, you live
Right.
where I do, and it's just too darn hot to walk a lot of the year. Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so true. You and I are neighbors on opposite ends of the
Yeah.
city, but
Yeah.
okay, so you were fairly active and then you
Yeah.
came in and you wanted to do that strength training. So what drew you to purchasing Strong and Vibrant? Because if you like strength training and you're used to doing things online, then you have a lot of options and you seemed comfortable with that. What
Right.
was it that you were really interested in doing this particular program?
Well, because I've known you and your work. I mean, we never met in person, but like I've listened to your podcast and I've received your newsletter, I don't know, for several years. So I had a lot of confidence. I felt like I knew you well enough to know what I was getting. I was getting a product with somebody who knew what they were talking about and what they were doing. And it was geared to older women and was weight neutral. And I just really trusted you and what you were going to provide because it's more than just some things you get online where you have some young girl doing crazy moves and heavy weights. And it's not geared at all towards women with older bodies.
Hmm.
So I felt confident that I would get something that would be valuable and I would be safe doing it.
I cannot thank you enough for that. And thank you for
Hmm.
trusting me with your body,
Yeah.
because that is not something I take lightly. And it is hard to do in a one to many situation
Right.
rather than one to one, like when I have my clients.
Hmm.
But I appreciate that. And it really does warm my heart that I've earned your trust. And so
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm okay. So as we go through, and just for people who are not totally familiar with it, I want to give a super high level. Strong and Vibrant is like this subtitle says, it's a strength and wellness program.
Hmm.
So it is 7 weeks of not only strength training, but also workouts like I call it core balance and stretch. So we work on those specific
Mhm.
areas. There's another one called Be Complete, which is different than the individual Be Complete that you can purchase, but it is the same theory in that it is focuses on your balance, your core, your mini muscles, stretching, pausing, your transverse exercises, which are kind of going across your body. We have some stretch days. We have what I call Instacare on some of the deloading weeks or rest and recovery, which those are kind of smaller, gentle movement between
Mhm.
5 and 8 movements. And so every week you have day 1 through day 5, and you just hit play on the app, follow along, and do what you want to do.
Mhm.
Now,
Mhm.
with that said, Kathy, as you know, I invited people just to commit to what they wanted to do. So maybe
Right.
that was strength, or maybe it was all 5 days, or somewhere
Mhm.
in between. What was your commitment to yourself? Because obviously I'm not holding you accountable,
Right.
but what was your commitment to yourself as you went in saying, this is what I want to do as part of the program?
Well, I'm a daily exerciser. That does not mean I do something hard every day. Like it may be 15 minutes of yoga one day, and and I usually never do more than 30 minutes. So for probably the first 4 weeks, I did the 5 days. And then I took the rest of the sessions and I would alternate this program with some other things that I was doing. So
Okay.
I've done it all. I've done all of the exercises because that's just my body responds to that. But I never felt like, because you were really good about talking about that. I woke up, and this was a thing, perimenopause and beyond. You'll have nights that you do not sleep. That is not the day to, because I come from a CrossFit background from many years ago. That's not the day to do an hour CrossFit workout.
Right.
And I've really learned to listen to my body and be in tune with that. So I just feel better when I operate that way. And I've learned that you do not have to kill yourself every day to gain strength and to be healthy. So I really appreciated that.
Yes, preach it, sister. I'm the
Yeah.
same way,
Mhm.
and I come from the same mentality of
Yeah.
like I've got to go hard every day.
Yep.
And just as I've gotten older, I've learned to appreciate those and really receive them as part of getting stronger, is having the recovery days or having a gentle movement day rather than like, no, I have to do something. I have to, like, all of this culture of like break a sweat every day. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not necessary. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I like to move every day, but I'm not
Yeah.
necessarily breaking a sweat unless I'm going outside in the middle of summer,
Yeah.
which obviously.
That's just to the mailbox. Yeah. But and the
Yeah.
other thing I liked about it too, 'cause we know that strength training is so important. And if I had my druthers, I would just do that all the time. But the other things you're talking about as we age, about the balance and the stretching and mobility, I would not make time for that if it wasn't kind of
Mhm.
forced upon me in this workout. So I was doing one of them today that we had all three components in it. And just that balance was just in the middle of it. So I just did it. And I know I need to do it because, okay, so I'm of the age, so I had grandkids that I have to get up and off the floor with and pick up and go up and downstairs with. Balance is a big deal, you know,
You're
so,
right.
yeah. So I like that it had all of those components in it because a lot of times when you're doing some kind of online program, it'll be just strength or just yoga, and this had all of the components. I felt like in a good balanced way.
Good. Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm kind of the same way. I mean, I know how important the stretching is. I know how important the balance is, but that's just not where my mind goes. So
Mhm, mhm.
I'm kind of like you, and where I need to have it forced upon me or
Yeah.
force myself to do it or
Right.
say like this is a pre-workout that I've already set for myself in the past, and so now I'm going to do it. And
Mhm.
I've heard that from a lot of people. Like, I know I need to do this stuff more. I mean, aside from the strength training, which people join because they know they need to strength train, but they don't necessarily know what to do. I mean, that's the case for a lot of women who have
Yeah.
joined.
Yeah.
And even aside from that, it's I know I need to be stretching and balance and working on my core, but it's hard to make myself do that. So
Yeah.
that is one reason why I wanted to incorporate that in. I'm wondering, Kathy, if you would mind sharing maybe anything that I'm just going to kind of make this an open and you can
Mhm.
respond however you want, but was there anything that you wish you would have changed, anything that was kind of weird or awkward, at least at the beginning or maybe the whole time, anything that just didn't quite feel right at the time that you think would be helpful for someone who might be considering purchasing Strong and Vibrant, that you think that would be helpful for them to know?
Well, the only thing I can think of, and this is going to be with any like thing you're doing online. So if you are in a group fitness or personal training session, you have the instructor right there that can keep up with how you're doing and the pacing of it for you. But when you're doing a video, the person teaching can't, they see the camera and they're teaching to a lot of different people and different body types. So sometimes I felt at the beginning, like, oh gosh, I wish she would slow down. It wasn't slowing down the exercise, like going between things, like
Mhm.
getting up and off the floor. Maybe that was just me, but I kind of got used to it. But I remember at first, I just felt that was kind of frustrating, but that's probably going to be a lot of things that you do online or anything that's not in person.
Mhm.
So
Well, you bring up a good point because when I'm training my clients one-on-one, whether they're in person or over Zoom, I can see them and I can see when I need to add a little bit of extra time.
mhm.
And it's funny, just for a little sneak behind the curtain, I'm up here, I'm in my, home office slash, gym
Yeah,
for
yeah,
Strong and Vibrant
yeah,
all by myself doing this. And so
right.
I have a timer of we're doing it for this long. And I'll say before, like, hey, we're doing this for 40 seconds. We're having a 20-second break and 40 and 20. And so if I don't adhere to my timer,
Yes,
then
yeah,
all bets are off because then I've lost control of everything. Like, so that's some of it too. And you're right. It is a bit of a quick pace, but I'm glad to hear you say as time went on, you got more comfortable with it because some of that too is probably you just getting used to my cueing, you getting
right.
used to me like having the up and down, which is intentional. I do want us getting up and down a lot because,
Yes,
like you said, that's
it's-
part of our grandma goals. Like,
yes,
we wanna be able to get up and down with our
hmm,
grandkids
yeah,
and carry that up. So, yeah, I mean, I can totally see why that felt like a quick pace and quick transitions, and I'm glad to hear that it's something that you got used to as you went along.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'm wondering if you would mind, and this feels like a really kind of awkward question to ask because I designed the program, but were there's particular parts of the program that you really liked or appreciated?
Well, I liked because we gave you some variety that we used both the loops, which I had used before, and the bands, because there's
Okay.
so many different things that you can do with those. So I just need variety. So I really like that. And the other thing I liked about both of those things is that from my background, I just felt like I had to lift a heavy barbell, like for a deadlift. That, of course, that could kill your back sometimes. And I was noticing the other day, we were doing the Romanian deadlifts with the bands. And
Mhm.
I was getting the exact same workout and not hurting my back. And I could
Right.
adjust it easily if I needed more or less. And I would have never known that. So I think the different elements that you bring in gives variety, but it also shows a different way to accomplish the goals safely for a midlife to beyond body, because we need that because of what we should never be getting hurt when we exercise. The older you get, you do not recover from those as
Right.
easily, and then you can't exercise at all. So I didn't, I did not. Well, the other thing is you have so many modifications for different, like if you have sensitive knees or for anything, and you show those how to modify. So that's one thing, and the other thing I was going to say. But anyway, so yeah, I got a good workout and I was never worried that I had to go heavier or do something that felt a little strenuous that maybe I shouldn't have been doing and get the same results.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me expand on that just a little bit. If you're
Yeah.
listening and like, what do you mean she's saying loops and bands and what are those? So loops are, and every trainer is going to call these something different. So this is my vocabulary for these things. Loops are like really big rubber bands that
Hmm.
are a couple inches wide and they're probably like 12 inches in diameter or so. I
Hmm.
mean,
Hmm.
and those are what I call loops. And the beautiful thing about those is you can get a package of 5 for less than $10.
Yeah.
Then what I use are bands, and there's one particular set of bands that I highly recommend anyone get. I will tell you up front, they are typically around $40, maybe $45,
Mhm.
and you get a package of 5 with some handles. And what I like about them is they are interchangeable. And Kathy, you know all of this. If you did
Yeah.
you get those bands that I
Yeah.
recommended?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So you can interchange them with the handles and you can double them up. So you can use 2 bands with 1 handle and you can customize the resistance very easily. Once
Mhm.
you get a handle for it, sometimes it's a little awkward once you start using it because you're like, well, I don't know which color should I use and all of that, but you figure it out and that's why we write it down. And together, those are just around $50 of an investment where you can get a lot of resistance for not a lot of money and that doesn't take up a lot of space
Mhm.
in your house because most people do not have a lot of room to be having
Right.
10s and 15s and 20s and 30s
Mhm.
and all, dumbbells and kettlebells and all of that,
Yeah.
all of that. So anyway, I wanted to make it very accessible too, and I'm glad you brought that up. And I know you know all of that, but if you're
No,
listening,
yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. And the band, I was funny, I was talking with someone at church the other day, and she was like, "Well, what happens if the bands pop on you?" I was like, "Well, the bands that I recommend actually have fabric over them. So if they pop, because I've had over the course of 10 years or so, I've had a couple different sets. And if they pop, then they're staying encased in the fabric and not whapping you on the belly or on the face.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's another little bonus of the
Yeah.
the bands. But I'm
Yeah.
glad you liked them.
I did.
Were they difficult for you to get used to?
No, but you would always say, here's a way you can do it. It's an art, not a science. It doesn't have to be
Mhm.
perfect. You don't no, they weren't hard. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know. Good
Mhm.
to know. Okay, last question, Kathy. Who do you think is an ideal candidate for this program?
I would say anybody perimenopause and beyond, you could almost be a beginner or have not exercised for a long time and do this program. But there's enough in there that if you are a daily exerciser and you have regular exercise for a long time, there's just plenty in there. It's something for everybody. Because by the time you in your mid 40s, you're going to have some aches and pains and some injuries. And this is very adaptable to no matter what your situation is. I know a lot of the exercises, you get 2 or 3 options on ways to do them depending on where you are. So if you haven't
Yeah.
exercised in a long time, you're not going to get this and say, I can't do this. Everything is very doable. If you are really in great shape, you're not going to get in there and say, it's just so easy. It's a waste of time because everything is customizable. So, and the other thing I really liked about it too, that you talked about, which I don't remember having a lot of instruction in this, is you talked about the intent of the exercise. For
Mhm.
example, this exercise could work these 3 muscles, but our intent is to work the hip flexors. That's what I was did today. And so you're thinking about why you're doing it, which really helps you focus on the right thing for the exercise. And the other thing I really liked about, because this is new to me, every time I've ever done strength, we have been focusing on big muscle groups. And you had some focus on smaller muscle groups that I didn't even know I had and why they were important. So I got a lot of education about that. So
Yeah.
there's something for everybody. This is really a good program.
Yes.
Mm.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do on the strength workouts, I do a lot of functional movements. So for
Mhm.
those who are familiar with that, that's your pushing and your pulling and your squatting and your hinging and giving alternatives, particularly for the lower body that you can't do that. But then we also do spend time in what I call the mini muscles, which I think you probably are referring to. And those
Yeah.
are all of the smaller muscles in the glute region. We've got smaller muscles up in our shoulders and trying to strengthen those up as well. So
Mhm.
it's a combination of both of those, and I learned the hard way that just doing a bunch of squats and lunges without focusing on those many muscles will result in some sort of injury or strain or
Right. Yeah.
barking or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, that's good feedback as far as ideal candidates, and I will say the one caveat is in my opinion, the resistance bands are a critical component of getting that and having success in finding the right resistance. Because if you just are walking into this workout and you've got one band that you picked up at Target a while ago, you're not going to get the challenge that this is designed to give you. And so having those bands, I think, is really important. And I so wish I tried to find the owner of it and to see if I could purchase a bunch at cost. And I couldn't find any of that. So unfortunately, we got to resort to doing Amazon, but you'll get it a lot quicker. So
Well, and here's the thing. I've learned this not just with this program, but a lot of things. I'm going to invest the money in a program for anything. I'm going to go ahead and just get what you say to get. Because I've done the cheap thing, and like the foam roller, like that you recommend, was very pricey. And I have two foam rollers, and I really almost didn't get it. But this one is so different and far superior and worth the investment. So if I believe in you, I'm going to do what you tell me to do. You don't have
yeah.
to, but I mean, I just so many times I've just tried to do it on the cheap, and I usually end up buying what they say to buy anyway. So yeah, and these are
Yeah.
all good investments
Yeah.
for they're gonna last forever. So
Oh, that foam roller is gold.
hmm
I've n I have recommended that to so many of my clients. This is the Melt Method foam roller. Sue Hitzman was on the show, gosh, a couple years ago, talking about our connective tissue and our fascia, and it's not inexpensive. It's about $80, and I recognize that that is not in everybody's budget, but if you can afford it, it is so worth it. And exactly what you're saying, Cathy, is what every single one of my clients has said. I'm like, I didn't, but boy, I got it, and it's amazing. So I'm glad you brought that up.
well, and I have one spot that I should foam roll every day that I don't because it hurts with my old hard ones. Now, it doesn't not hurt with the melt method one, but it's so much easier on me that I
Hmm.
am more like, and I didn't even know there was one like it. It's just it's a softer foam roller that gets the job done.
Yes.
So
Well, the way that she has explained it that I have borrowed is it's kind of like if you were to take your arm and grab your arm. So it's soft and then firm.
yeah,
So it's kind of like your forearm, like you've got some softness, but then it does get firm. So it's not
hmm
like you can just it's not like a pool noodle. That's
no,
kind of what I thought it was for a while. It's nothing that flimsy
mm-mm.
and just well designed. I have no affiliation with it
Yeah,
aside from having an Amazon link that I can
yeah,
send people, and I do love it, and I'm
yeah,
glad you brought that up because
yeah,
it's worth it to me. To me,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
Well, Cathy, I really
mm,
appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on. I am going to leave you with a kind of an open question, and then we'll get into my final question
okay.
that you know what it is if you've listened to the podcast. But I guess I would say any final thoughts for anyone who is on the fence of this. And I would also like for you to tell people where they can get in touch with you. I know you have a wonderful platform, and tell everybody where they can connect with you.
On social media, on Instagram is where I am. I'm a retired empty nester, and I
That's right.
talk to retired women about thriving in the retired empty nest years through service, learning, and having fun. So I just talk about all the things I'm doing in those areas and give suggestions and encouragement for that.
And how can people sign up for your Retired Empty Nester newsletter?
I'll send you a link. You can put in the show
Okay.
notes for that. Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
yeah,
Sounds good.
yeah.
Sounds good. Okay. And then any final thoughts on Strong and Vibrant?
If you're on the fence, just do it. It's gonna you have nothing to lose. And I don't know of any other program for strength that's designed for someone in this age group by a woman in this age group who works with women in this age group. So that that brings a lot of value to it.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
who ends our workouts and prayers and incorporates
exactly.
Jesus. And we didn't even talk about that.
No, I know. Yeah. So he
Yeah.
created our
Yeah.
bodies and get to be good stewards of them. And this is the way to do it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for that. Okay. I'm going to let you have the final say. What is one simple thing you would like everybody to remember about our conversation, big or small?
Moving your body every day will make you feel good and it adds to your longevity. So whether you do this program or not, get up and move.
Amen.
Mhm.
Okay, that is all for today. Go out there and have a graced day.